ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासम् शरीरं मे विचर्षणम् जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवम् ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः मेधा देवी जुषमाणा न आगाद्विश्वाची भद्रा सुमनस्य माना त्वया जुष्टानुगमाना दुरुक्तान् बृहद्वदेम विदधे सुवीराः त्वया जुष्ट ऋषिर्भवति देवी त्वया ब्रह्मा गतः श्रीरुतत्वया त्वया जुष्टश्चित्रं विन्दते वसुसानो जुषस्वत्र विनो न मेधे मेधां महीन्द्रो ददातु मेधां देवी सरस्वती मेधां मे अश्विना वुभावा धत्तां पुष्करस्रजा अप्सरासु च या मेधा गन्धर्वेषु च यन्मनः दैवीं मेधा सरस्वती सा मां मेधा सुरभिर्जुषत स्वाहा आमा मेधा सुरभिर्विश्वरूपा हिरण्यवर्णा जगति जगम्या ऊर्जस्वती पयसा बिन्वमाना सा मां मेधा सुप्रतीकाजुषन्ताम् मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मय्यग्निस्तेजो दधातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयीन्द्र इन्द्रियं दधातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि सूर्यो भ्राजो दधातु हंस हंसाय विद्महे परमहंसाय धीमहि तन्नो हंसः प्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात् स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ Ganeshaya Namaha, Saraswatyai Namaha, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha, Harihi Om. Ekadantaya vidmahe Vakratundaya dhimahi Tanno dantih prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sri Sai Ram. I offer our loving pranams at the lotus feet of our dearest Lord, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. It is indeed a matter of great blessing and privilege for me to once again invite you all on the behalf of Sri Satya Sai Samyukta Shruti Sreni of Sri Satya Sai Seva organization to the 17th episode under the Gama ãgama lecture series. Today, we have with us yet another devout, pious, disciplined, and dedicated soul, Dr. N. Sivakumar, to lecture on the topic, the Vedas, the foundation of Indian culture and spirituality, part 17. Few words about Dr. N. Sivakumar. Dr. N. Sivakumar is an associate professor and the head of the Department of Management and Commerce, Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, Vrindavan campus. Hailing from a traditional family in which Vedam chanting was a part of regular upbringing, Dr. Sivakumar was fortunate to learn Vedam at a very young and early age of 9 years from Sri Chandrasekhara Ganapati of the Kanchi Mutt. His Vedam chanting found fulfillment at the lotus feet of Bhagwan. When he joined the Vrindavan campus for the PUC course in the year 1982, Swami picked him up for Vedam chanting, and thus he became a part of the Vedam chanting group for all major functions at Prashanthi Nilayam, starting with the 60th birthday in 1985. He is grateful to Bhagwan Baba for giving him several chances using Vedam chanting as an instrument. He regularly teaches Vedam to all the students of Vrindavan campus and takes advanced classes to more interested students. With this humble introduction on Dr. N. Sivakumar, now I invite him to take over and share with us his rich experiences and knowledge on Vedas and how Vedas have become part and parcel of his life. Over to Dr. N. Sivakumar. Sai Ram.
श्रुतं मे गोपाय
ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन् नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ I offer my most prayerful pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. I wish all the audience a very happy new year. We are 1 week into this new year, and let us pray to Bhagwan to bless us all with a holy, prosperous and divine new year ahead of us. At the outset, I take this as a blessing from our dear Lord for this opportunity to interact with you all as a part of this gama, ãgama series of talks on Indian culture and spirituality. I am specifically grateful to the organizers of this series, and I take it as a blessing to share my views during this session. I would like to talk in this session about a very important, at the same time very useful aspect related to the Vedas. The Vedas are the foundation of Indian culture and spirituality, and Vedam chanting has been the tradition of Bharatiyas since ages. In this session, I would like to talk about Vedam chanting as a process of purification. How chanting Vedas benefits us by purifying our lives at several levels. I will be specifically highlighting a few of the benefits at the physical, the mental, and the spiritual levels based on my understanding of Vedam chanting, and also with my experiences which Bhagwan blessed me over a long period of time as a student and as a teacher, and most importantly as a member of the Vedam group both at Brindavan as well as Prashanti Nilayam. It must have been Bhagwan's blessings at a very young age for me that I got the opportunity of learning Vedam even before I got the opportunity of physically stepping into Bhagwan's educational institutions. Our family is a traditional family related to Indian culture and spirituality, Vedam chanting was a normal part of this tradition. However, Swami wanted me to be adequately trained before I got into the portals of his education institution at Brindavan, and Swami ensured that I would get Vedam training, chanting training, when I was studying at my school in a place called Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. My father, who was also interested in learning Vedam chanting, got a guru, a Ganapati from the Kanchi Mutt, who was at that time stationed at Coimbatore, and he used to come daily to our home and teach for close to half an hour to 1 hour, just to my father and myself. At that time, when I was learning these mantrams, I really did not understand its significance. Though, being a very young lad, all the chanting and the ability to chant became very natural to me as I could absorb them at a very young age. However, its significance and its importance dawned on me when I joined Swami's educational institution in Brindavan in the year 1982. I joined for the first PUC class at Brindavan, and to my amazement, I found that Vedam chanting was a normal part of the routine of Brindavan, as well as whenever we got opportunities to go to Prashanti Nilayam, it was again a normal part of the routine at Prashanti Nilayam. I also got the opportunity at Brindavan to revise what all I had learned when I was at school, and Swami gave me the opportunity to ensure that the mantrams that I learned would be repeated again and again and again on different occasions, and that helped me that I would get a sound footing in Vedam chanting. And over the last 40 plus years of my stay in Swami's educational institutions, and 5 years before that when I started learning Vedam, around 45 years of my journey with Vedam has time and again showed me one of the most important benefits of Vedam chanting, which is its power to purify. Vedam chanting helps in purifying our lives at the physical level, the mental level, and a much higher spiritual level. Let me just start with how Vedam chanting helps at the physical level. The Aghamarshana Suktam goes this way. Hiranyashringam varunam prapadye tirtham me dehi yachitah yanmaya bhuktam papebhyascha pratigrahah yanme manasa vacha karmana va dushkritam kritam tanna indro varuno बृहस्पतिः सविता च पुनन्तु पुनः पुनः नमोऽग्नये एप्सुमते नम इन्द्राय नमो वरुणाय नमो वारुण्यै नमोऽभ्यः. The Aghamarshana Suktam, also known as the Varuna Suktam, is a prayer that we could all chant, especially at the time of taking bath, and it ensures that the bath that we have physically cleans our body perfectly, because when the body is cleaned, it is not just cleaning it of dirt, but more importantly, it is to ensure that the body retains its freshness, and also it retains energy, which is a part of purification. Swami very beautifully illustrates this by comparing the divine to two very interesting characters or roles which are played. Many times Swami tells God is like the dhobi, the washerman. The reason being, we can pass to him the clothes which are soiled, which are dirty, and he takes the action of cleaning them back. And how does he do? He does various procedures which include applying soap and going through the washing procedure, drying it so that we get back clean clothes. Vedam chanting is like this washing procedure. It is like that soap which ensures that our body becomes fresh and energetic. Swami gives yet another very interesting example of the chief of the Reserve Bank. Swami tells we can pass back to the Reserve Bank any type of currency note. This currency note could be dirty, soiled, it could be even cut, it could be tattered. It does not lose its value. However, if we pass it back to the Reserve Bank in turn gives for the same value, it gives us fresh currency notes. Swami tells that Vedam chanting makes us fresh. How does it make us fresh? By continuously chanting these mantras, our body maintains its energy. Our body maintains its freshness. And most importantly, the tongue, which is the organ of communication, it gets so much of exercise while chanting Vedam that it is able to maintain what is known as Vak Shuddhi. Therefore, when we chant different types of mantras, it ensures that their tongue gets its sufficient exercise. As we could see this particular sentence. This sentence is a part of the Trisuparna mantram, wherein we could see how the tongue gets exercised sufficiently so that it can maintain its vitality and energy. Brahma medhava madhu medhava brahmameva madhu medhava brahma devanam padavih kavinam rishir vipranam mahisho mriganam sheno gridhranagaswadhitir vananagum soma pavitramatyetire bhanne hagum sashuchishadvasurantariksha saddhota vedisha daditir duronasat drishadvara sadrita sadvyoma sadabja goja ritaja adrija ritam brihat. When we chant this particular mantram, which is almost like a tongue twister, the tongue gets so much of exercise that it is able to maintain Vak Shuddhi. The meaning of the term Vak Shuddhi is that our speech becomes very pure and pleasant. People who hear of us feel very happy. And this Vak Shuddhi itself is a blessing of Bhagavan. I remember this incident which happened to me where I could understand that it is because of Bhagavan's blessings that we get the opportunity to chant Vedam, which leads to Vak Shuddhi. This happened in the year 1994, and Swami gave lots of chances for chanting Vedam during the Dasara of 1994. We used to get approximately 3 to 4 hours of chanting every day, and it used to, as the Dasara Yajnam goes on for a week, we were chanting daily around 3 to 4 hours. We used to chant inside the interview room. I remember Swami taking us to all his rooms in the Prashanti Mandir so that we got an opportunity to chant everywhere. And being a person who had been chanting Vedam for quite a good number of years, whenever we would go to the Purnachandra auditorium as a part of the Yajnam, I would be seated in the front row and the mic would normally be kept in front of me along with other seniors who would also chant Vedam. And Swami would come and encourage us to chant not just in a normal pitch but in a higher and higher pitch. The idea being Vedam chanting should provide that purification to the entire place. It so happened that because of this chanting of close to 3 hours every day over a period of few days, after a few days, possibly some 4-5 days, I suddenly realized that my voice was getting affected. On the very last day, which is called as the Purnahuti day, which happens on the Vijayadashami day, I got up in the morning, and as I was getting ready to come for Vedam chanting, one of my friend and colleague asked me what was the program that day. And I just wanted to tell him that around a particular time there would be Purnahuti and we will be ready for at that time. And as I wanted to speak, I suddenly realized that there was no words coming from my throat. My entire voice had totally gone subdued due to long chanting for the last several days. I was really terrified because that was the most important day amongst all the Dasara Yajnam days, Purnahuti day, and invariably the mic would be kept in front of me and I would have to necessarily contribute. And I was really afraid that I may not be able to chant at all. However, with lots of prayer to Bhagavan, because with Bhagavan, everything is possible. There is nothing called as impossible. So, with lots of prayer to Bhagavan, I got ready and I attempted to speak a few words, and every time I made that attempt, I found that actually there was no sound coming, it was just some hollow voice that was happening. Yet I got ready and went to the mandir, and we were chanting on a low pitch for some time in the bhajan hall itself. And after some time we got up and in a procession we went to the Purnachandra auditorium. I was seated there. I was afraid that the mic would be kept in front of me, and the mic indeed came in front of me. A few moments later, Swami came, turned towards all of us, students and staff who were seated on the stage, and asked us to chant loudly. And to my own surprise, I could not believe that. The next moment, my voice was loud and clear in the mic. And being the very last day, the pujaris, who were professional chanters, they wanted to create such a wonderful atmosphere of Vedam chanting that they kept on increasing the pitch of chanting, and they saw Swami was enjoying that. At some point of time, we were literally chanting at a very high pitch, and I was surprised my voice was getting adjusted to every single pitch at that moment. I was really grateful to Bhagavan for giving me that opportunity to chant that day, because my voice was loud, crystal clear. And I thought that I had achieved what had to be done on that day. And with a sense of satisfaction, I got up after the program got over and then came out of Punachandra auditorium, and one of my teachers at that time came and patted me and told, Sivakumar, you chanted very well. Your voice was very loud and clear on the mic. I wanted to tell sir it was all Swami's blessings, and I wanted to thank him. And I started speaking, and to my utter surprise, I found that my voice had become mum again. I could not speak at all. There was not a single word coming out of my mouth, and that it took for me close to 3 to 4 days to regain my voice. I realized that Vedam chanting can give us the vitality and power, with the added benefit of Bhagavan's blessings. It can do wonders. Vedam chanting at a very physical level ensures that our body is pure, our limbs are strong, and most importantly, our voice is clear and we have Vak Shuddhi. That is what is told in this particular mantra. Bhadram karne vishnuyama devaha Bhadram pashye makshabhir yajatraha Sthirairangai stushthuvagum sastanubhi Vyashema devahitam yadayuh Swasti na indro vruddhashravah Swasti na pusha vishwavedah Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi Swasti no brihaspatir dadhatu. The meaning of this mantra is a prayer that through Vedam chanting, all our organs should work perfectly and we are able to do the correct job. The ears must listen and must hear good things. The eyes must see good things. The mouth must speak good things. The hands and legs must do good things. All this comes apart from all our regular activities. Vedam chanting ensures that we continue to have the vitality and the strength, and most importantly, the purity in whatever we do through the various organs of the body. So therefore, at a physical level, Vedam chanting is very valuable. At a higher level, at the mental level, Vedam chanting helps in purification of the mind. The mind, Bhagavan tells, is nothing but a collection of thoughts. Vedam chanting helps us to have pure thoughts, good thoughts. And because of these good thoughts, all our actions which get reflected because of those good thoughts will also be pure. How does Vedam chanting help in purity of thoughts? Vedam chanting, we go through this particular mantra which very clearly mentions Kamokarishi namo namah Kamokarishit kamah karoti naham karomi Kamah karta naham karta Kamah karayita naham karayita एषते कामकामाय स्वाहा मन्युरकारिषीन् नमो नमः मन्युरकारिषीन् मन्युः करोति नाहं करोमि मन्युः कर्ता नाहं कर्ता मन्युः कारयिता नाहं कारयिता एषते मन्यो मन्यवे स्वाहा. These mantrams, they first of all explain the limitations of our mind. Our mind feels that it is the creator and it is the doer. However, both these mantrams tell that we are really not the doer. It is God who does all activity through us. We are just an instrument. With this particular feeling, the mind becomes humble. We don't get into the feeling of ahankara or ego because we realize that we are not the true doers. It is God, it is Swami who is doing through us. I remember this very beautiful incident that happened to me, wherein Swami showed that it is his abilities, his power that actually acts through us. In the year 1988, I was studying for my MBA at Prashanti Nilayam. And with Bhagavan's blessings, I was fortunate to be a part of the drama group entitled Bhaja Govinda. My role in that drama was of a grammar or Vyakarana Pandit. And I, as a part of the drama, the role was for me was to be immersed in studying Sanskrit grammar, Vakyakaram Vararuchim, Bhashyakaram Patanjalim, Paninim Sutrakaram cha Pranatosmi Munitrayam. That used to be one of my dialogues. And I used to worship the people who were the makers of the Sanskrit language. Yet, as a part of the drama, at one stage, Adi Shankaracharya comes to this Vyakarana Pandit and then asks him, what is the use of all this Vyakarana or grammar? Samprapte sannihite kale nahi rakshati dukrum karane. This grammar, Sanskrit grammar, the rules of Sanskrit grammar will not be helpful at the most important times of any person. And therefore, Adi Shankaracharya transforms that Vyakarana Pandit by telling more important than the Sanskrit grammar is Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. And that is how the entire drama is entitled Bhaja Govindam. In the Bhaja Govindam drama, therefore, in my character as that of the Sanskrit grammarian, my ego is removed. That is a very beautiful way of understanding how one can attain mental purity. However, Swami wanted to enact a drama within this drama and wanted me to really understand that it was purely because of Bhagavan that each and every one of us are endowed with talents, with abilities. Just a few moments before the transformation happens in the drama, as a part of that character, as I am chanting the various rules of grammar, my friend in the drama comes to me and tells, brother, today is the very sacred Ekadashi day. Why don't you come along with me to the temple? But as a part of that Bhajagovindam story, I am so much immersed in chanting of the grammar rules that I don't want to go with that particular friend of mine. So therefore, I used to act like this. When he would tell, today is the very sacred Ekadashi day, I used to act, Ekadashi? What is so important in Ekadashi? Grammar is even more important. And I used to tell it with lots of ego as a part of that role. Swami, after seeing this, he was not at all happy. Even though lot of people in the audience appreciated that role, Swami was never happy. And I was actually wondering why Swami was not happy with that particular piece of acting. Then, during one of the rehearsals where Swami came, Swami made a very small modification in that particular dialogue, Ekadashi. I used to earlier, before Swami corrected me, I used to tell Ekadashi with a grimace on my face. Swami just corrected me and told, instead of using the hand this way, let the hand be like this, Ekadashi. Swami just made a small correction. And of course, the other dialogues remained the same. To my surprise, and to the to all the audience, this particular way of acting was even more attractive. After the drama, Swami specifically came and patted me and told the acting was very nice. I realized that my own effort in terms of acting can lead to an ego problem. And Swami corrected me by ensuring that I will never feel the ego. Instead, I would feel humble. That is the purity at the mental level which Vedam chanting can give us. Mayi medham, mayi prajam, mayi agnistejo dadhatu, mayi medham, mayi prajam, mayi indra indriyam dadhatu, mayi medham, mayi prajam, mayi suryo bhrajo dadhatu. As the mantram goes in the Medha Suktam, it essentially is a prayer that our intellect gets purified, our mind gets purified, so that it will work in the correct manner. So Vedam chanting not only helps at the physical level, it also helps at the mental level, wherein it ensures that we remain humble. At an even higher level, Vedam chanting helps in our spiritual purification and spiritual growth. Swami defines spirituality in a very, very easy manner. Swami tells spirituality essentially means that each one of us must work towards removing all the animal and demonic tendencies within each and every one of us and cultivate human qualities and lift them up to the level of the divine. So therefore, removing demonic and animal qualities, cultivating human qualities and lifting them up to the level of divine qualities is the very simple definition of spirituality. And Swami told that there is no better spirituality than all our thoughts, words, and deeds being pure. That Trikarana Shuddhi indeed is true spirituality. Manas ekam, vachas ekam, karman ekam, mahatmanam. Manas anyat, vachas anyat, karman anyat, duratmanam. This Trikarana Shuddhi is the very important aspect of spiritual development and spiritual purity. As Swami always tells, removal of immorality is the only way to immortality. So therefore, it is necessary for all of us to ensure that we remove the immorality in the form of our speech, in our actions, and in our thoughts. Once in Trayi Brindavan, a very great scholar was explaining the Purusha Sukta, and Swami was listening to it. We were all part of the audience, and that scholar was explaining the Purusha Suktam in a very scholarly manner, and Swami stopped him at some point of time and told, if you explain like this, these students may not understand. Why don't you explain it in a simpler manner? And that particular scholar once again started explaining the Purusha Suktam, and then Swami again told him, bring down the level to the understanding of the students. And of course the scholar was doing his best, and then Swami asked that scholar, why don't you chant some part of this Purusha Suktam so that you will be able to you will be able to explain it to the students in a manner which they would understand. So the scholar started chanting the Purusha Suktam from the beginning, as it would start with Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha. He started chanting the Purusha Suktam, and he was chanting a few sentences, and then he chanted like this: Purusha evedagum sarvam yad bhutam yaccha bhavyam utamritatvasyešanah yadannenatirohati एतावानस्य महिमा अथोज्यायागश्च पूरुषः पादोऽस्य विश्वाभूतानि त्रिपादस्यामृतं दिवि त्रिपादूर्ध्व उदैत् पुरुषः पादोऽस्येहा भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वं व्यक्रामत् शासनानशने अभि तस्मात् विराडजायत विराजो अधिपूरुषः स जातो अत्यरिच्यत पश्चाद्भूमिमथो पुरः यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवा यज्ञमतन्वत वसन्तो अस्यासीदाज्यं ग्रीष्म इद्मः शरद्धविः सप्तास्यासन् परिधयः त्रिसप्तसमिधः कृताः देवायद् यज्ञं तन्वानाः अबध्नन् पुरुषं पशुं तं यज्ञं बर्हिः क्षिप्रौक्षन् पुरुषं जातमग्रतः. As he was chanting, Swami suddenly pointed out to this particular sentence, Abhadhanan Purusham Pashum. What is the meaning of that? Swami asked that scholar. And that scholar started explaining that Purusha Suktam is actually a description of the entire creation. The entire creation, according to the Purusha Suktam, came out of a grand yajnam that was done in the ancient early times, and that yajnam was conducted by the Yajna Purusha, and the sacrificial goat in that particular yajnam was also the Yajna Purusha. Now, Swami turned towards that scholar and told, see, this will be very difficult for our students to understand. The scholar told Swami, I don't know how to explain this better than this. Then Swami asked him, explain that sentence once again. Abadhanan Purusham Pashum. The sacrificial animal of the yajnam was the Yajna Purusha which was tied. Swami told, why you are complicating it so much? Actually, this entire sentence could be chanted in a slightly different manner, Swami told. Instead of chanting, Abadhanan Purusham Pashum, Swami told, why don't we chant it as Apadham Purusham Pashum? And that scholar was waiting for Swami to explain the meaning of it. After all, Bhagavan is the source of all the Vedas, and Swami very beautifully explained that day the meaning Apadham Purusham Pashum. And Swami resorted to Telugu and Swami told, Apadda in Telugu means lie, speaking untruth, falsehood. Then Swami told in beautiful Telugu, Apaddam matlade Pashuvuku Samanamu. Apaddam Purusham Pashum. Apaddam matlade Purushudu Pashuvuku Samanamu. The person who speaks lies, the person who utters falsehood is equal to an animal. That's what very beautifully Swami explained how we should be able to remove our demonic and animal tendencies, which is falsehood, which is telling lies, and develop divine tendencies within us. And how Swami tweaked one simple sentence of the Purusha Suktam and made it understandable to the students. That is the true value of Vedam chanting, and Swami explained to us how we should understand the benefit of Vedam chanting at a spiritual level. So, one part of this is the Trikarana Shuddhi. The other aspect of spiritual purification is to understand that Swami is always with us. If Swami is always with us, if Swami is always taking care of us, if Swami is always looking at us, automatically we will be very careful in our thoughts, words and deeds. I remember this very beautiful experience. During one Dasara Yajnam, again I was seated in the front and the mic was there in front of me, and it was my responsibility to ensure that I would chant properly and to ensure that my throat and the sound would be pleasant to hear. I would normally have one clove, a lavanga. I would keep it in my mouth, and once in a while I would take a small bite of it. I would just bite it so that the juice of that clove, that lavanga, would go into the throat and it would be easy to keep chanting and the voice would be pleasant. This was my normal practice, so to keep one lavangam inside my mouth to keep chewing once in a while. One day, Swami came for darshan as we were chanting in the Purnachandra auditorium. Swami came and then he saw all of us chanting, and then Swami went into the devotee side. Swami went towards the devotee side and Swami gave darshan to the devotees, and almost from close to 100 feet away, I could see that Swami was keenly looking at me sitting on the stage, and Swami was murmuring something. Swami was telling something. Of course, I could not make out what was Swami trying to tell. Yet, it was happening. I could clearly make out from close to 100 feet away that Swami was observing me. Swami came closer, came onto the stage, took Arati, and then slowly came towards us. And as he was coming, I could make out that Swami was telling the same, murmuring the same thing. And when Swami came near me, I could realize what was Swami actually telling. Swami was telling, in beautiful Telugu, Swami was telling, Yemo tintunnadu, Yemo tintunnadu, Yemo tintunnadu. Essentially, Swami was telling that I was chewing something at regular intervals. Now, I had always felt that this was a very, very small act. Nobody would notice. In fact, nobody had even pointed out that to me. Yet, Swami that day pointed out that very, very small act of mine, most importantly, to show to me that what is important is we should realize that Swami is observing every single act of ours. If we get that particular feeling, then we will be very careful and we will be very observant of whatever we think, whatever we speak, and whatever we do. That is how Swami helps us in Trikarana Shuddhi. And Vedam chanting for me personally was a way Swami showed the way to understand Trikarana Shuddhi. And then finally, at the spiritual level, it is important to realize that all our Vedam chanting ultimately is to please Swami. Sarva karma bhagavat prityartham. If after all our Vedam chanting, if Swami is not happy, then all our Vedam chanting is only mechanical. Everything should be done with the feeling, bhavam, that we are doing this to offer to Swami as a offering to Bhagavan. This too happened for me as a part of the Vedam chanting. Swami made me realize that he is the central part of Vedam chanting. So one day, as a part of the Dasara Yajnam, we were all seated in the bhajan hall at Prashanti Nilayam, and Swami asked us to get up and move towards Purnachandra auditorium in Prashanti Nilayam for the Vedam chanting. We started chanting Vedam as a part of the procession, and we were moving slowly. I was moving at a particular speed, and in front of Swami's interview room, there is a doormat to be used by Bhagavan. Normally, we don't step over the doormat. We normally cross over the doormat to ensure that we go, and without disturbing the doormat, we keep moving. So that day, I also stepped over the doormat, but while stepping over, I lost my balance temporarily. And in that process, I went very close to a very elderly devotee who was seated there. Swami observed this. The next day, with lots and lots of sternness in his face, Swami pointed out to me that single action of jumping over the doormat and in that process tripping and moving towards the elderly devotee is wrong. It should not be done. If you had wanted, you could have even walked over the doormat. Why did you have to do that stunt there to jump over the doormat and cause inconvenience to that devotee? At that time, I realized that Vedam chanting, even though we may be chanting it externally, internally we should always be in tune with Swami. If we are not in tune with Swami, our Vedam chanting will become mechanical and we will be doing these types of mistakes. So therefore, Swami wanted us to be totally in focus in whatever we are doing, totally in tune with Swami. The next day, Swami ensured and stood there wherever we were, ensured that none of us will jump over that doormat. That is the extent to which Swami went to ensure that there won't be any issue or any problem. What Swami essentially wanted to highlight is that spirituality means everything that we do must be done with the basic idea that Swami should be happy. If Swami is not happy, even Vedam chanting loses its value. So that day I realized that all Vedam chanting that I do should ultimately be offered to Bhagavan, and I should do it with the tremendous amount of discipline and focus. So therefore, for me, Vedam chanting is not just a mechanical action. Vedam chanting for me is a purification process. It purifies me externally. It then purifies my mind and also helps me to develop spiritually so that we realize our oneness with Bhagavan. This is the true essence and power of Vedam chanting. If we do this, we will be able to make Swami happy, and most importantly, our own lives we will feel happiness, and most importantly we will feel that Swami is indeed directing and taking care of every part of our life. This is the importance of gama, ãgama, that is Vedam chanting with the idea of how to make Swami happy. So I would like to end this speech of mine with a prayer to Bhagavan that Swami, you have given us this ability, this blessing of chanting Vedam. Let us continue to do this with all our enthusiasm and happiness so that we always feel that whatever Vedam we are chanting, it is for not just making us happy, but most importantly, Swami, we should make you happy. If you are happy, the world is indeed happy, as it is told in this mantra. Swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaah go brahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam samastalokaah sukhino bhavantu samastalokaah sukhino bhavantu samastalokaah sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Sai Ram.
Om Sri Sai Ram. Thank you very much, Dr. Sivakumar, for such a wonderful talk filled with Vedic message and Vedic blessings in Swami's words. It is indeed a great blessing and a privilege for me to thank you on behalf of all the devotees and the participants of this divine satsang. You have started on the note that Vedam chanting is a purification process. It purifies us at physical, mental, and spiritual levels. You went on to elaborately explain and correlate few of the Vedic mantras with simple meaning to the purification of all these three levels. To begin with, you related Agamarshana mantra and Trisuparna mantra to the purification at the physical level. Here, you emphasized on how these mantras help in energizing and refreshing the body, and on how they confer Vak Suddhi. Here, through your personal experience during Veda Purusha Saptah Jnana Yagna, you emphasized on how Vedam chanting generates divine inner power and manifests from within us the power to do noble activities. You have reminded us on Bhagwan's messages that God is like a dhobi, Vedam is like a soap for cleansing or purifying us at all the levels. You have also related Vedam chanting to Reserve Bank exchanging damaged and old currency to new. So Vedam chanting exchanges our bad qualities to good ones. While talking about mental purification, you took us to Kamokarishit mantra or japa of Yajurveda Samhita and related it to the limitations of our mental abilities and how the doer is verily Bhagwan has been neatly explained by you. You have explained to us on these mantras, humbling and removing ahamkara from each one of us. By generously sharing your rich experience with Bhagwan during Bhajagovindam drama episode, and you reminded us that Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. You once again told us on the fact that Govinda is verily Veda. Vedam chanting with correct bhava is also Bhaja Govindam. Here, you have also recalled the mantra called Meda Suktam and its power in mental purification. Moving on to the spiritual level, you emphasized on Bhagwan's message related to Trikarana Suddhi, unity, purity, and divinity in thought, word, and deed. You have also reminded us on the golden path given to us by Bhagwan for immortality as the removal of immorality in our words, actions, thoughts, character, and heart. Your description on Purusha Sukta episode in Trayi Vrindavan does once again tell us that about the way the Vedasara is brought down by Bhagwan to our simple human level to lift us from animality to divinity. Thanks again for emphasizing the fact that Bhagwan is the central part of Veda. And we need to chant Veda with bhava and dhyana on him through yet another wonderful experience from your life. I again thank you for thoroughly explaining and substantiating that Vedas are for physical, mental, and spiritual purification. We pray to Bhagwan to bless you and your family with immense grace and strength and devotion to remain in his service forever. Jai Sai Ram.
Om Jai Jagadish Hare स्वामी सत्य साई हरे, भक्त जना संरक्षक, भक्त जना संरक्षक, पति महेश्वरा, ओम जय जगदीश हरे। शशिवदना श्रीकरा, सर्वा प्राणपते, स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते, आश्रित कल्पलतिका, आश्रित कल्पलतिका, आपदान्धवा, ओम जय जगदीश हरे। माता पिता गुरुदैवमु मरि अन्तयु नीवे, स्वामी मरि अन्तयु नीवे, नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथा, नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथा, नागेन्द्रशयना, ओम जय जगदीश हरे। ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा, सत्य साई महादेवा, मंगल आरती अंधुको, मंगल आरती अंधुको, मंगल गिरिधारी, ओम जय जगदीश हरे। नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम, नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा। नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम, नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा। नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम, नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा। शांति शांति शांति। समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु, समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु, समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। शांति शांति शांति। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।